What's up, everybody? It's Wabachaw, and I wanted to make this video talking about the new unique sword, Starforge. Now, Starforge is a unique weapon that is a part of the loot table of the new encounter, the Shaper, in Atlas of Worlds. And it's pretty good, not gonna lie. This sword is very, very good, but as it has been revealed to the community, through people finding it and whatnot, there are people who are a little concerned that one, it's a little overpowered, or two, that the downside is way too much. And from my point of view, I think the sword is incredibly balanced and well thought out. And I just want to share the reasons why that I think this is the case. So first, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. It's 720 physical DPS when it's perfect with quality. So. And it has quite a big range for its increased physical damage roll, so it's going to go down quite a bit. But most people do not get the chance to get a 700 plus physical DPS weapon, especially in challenge leagues. But this is also where the downside comes into play. Deal no elemental damage. Most melee builds gain a lot of damage through the sources of added fire, hatred, herald of ash, so they use those things to get a lot of damage. This sword doesn't get that at all. So when you consider that, this sword is actually comparable to about a 500 DPS sword that you would usually find, and then you just don't get the bonus of getting cold damage or fire damage. And yeah, the numbers are pretty high, but that deal no elemental damage is, that kind of keeps it in check. And just to put some perspective to this, if you compare this to a mirrored weapon or a mirror worthy rare, you could potentially get 865 physical DPS on a perfect exquisite blade that was rare, that was crafted appropriately. This sword is 720 physical DPS. That means on a rare exquisite blade, it has a 20% more base damage on it. In addition to that, it gets all the benefits from elemental damage, such as hatred, herald of ash, and added fire. So when you look at this sword compared to a perfect rare sword, or anything that's even over 750 physical DPS, those will still blow the sword out of the water. However, there are some things going on with the sword that do kind of make up for that, and that I think are clever, and that they look almost OP, and most people are like, why is that on there? And I'm like, okay, I see it. So arguably, the life, it's just icing on the cake. The life is, it's a good roll. It's like you're wearing a shield with this, and that's nice, but it doesn't really affect the damage in any way, obviously. So I think the life roll is unique here, and I like that it's on here. But then the other thing about this, and a lot of people have kind of mentioned this, is that why does it need the 20% increased area of effect? And I know earlier I had mentioned the downside of the sword being the fact that it is deal no elemental damage. But another downside to the sword that that most people won't realize is the fact that it is a sword. And when you're looking at swords, you then have to consider sword skills. You can't use earthquake, okay? You can't use a huge number of skills. You can't use any skill that converts any of your damage to elemental damage. So ice crash, static strike, you can't use those because you're going to lose your damage. So really, what skills can you use with this sword? Double strike, viper strike, cleave, lacerate, cyclone. No one wants to use cleave. Lacerate would be too slow, or this weapon is too slow for a proper lacerate build. Cyclone, nobody likes cyclone anymore. The only things that it comes down to really are, and then flicker strike, but it comes down to viper strike, double strike, and flicker strike. And those are, if you think about that, that means all of a sudden both double strike and Viper Strike are name locking skills. So getting a little bit more AoE on your name locking abilities is actually a very nice quality of life. And that's why I think that the addition to increased area of effect on this sword is really well thought out, because you can't really use it with too many skills, to really get its full benefit. So, and then, as for Flicker Strike, it's just a really good Flicker Strike sword. You're going to deal a lot of physical damage. It's similar to an Oro Sacrifice, except you're just dealing physical damage. So, and you're not going to get the Frenzy from the Ignite, but still, it is still something that you could potentially use with Flicker Strike. And then the other problem this sword will present is the fact that with so much physical damage, unless you are playing a build that has a great way of dealing with physical damage, which arguably most melee builds do, you will kill yourself. So you can't go, a full crit assassin build with this, because if you were to do that with Flicker Strike, you would probably kill yourself. So yeah, this sword is, while it may look a little ridiculous, a little overpowered, I think all the decisions going into it and what we see in front of us is surprisingly well thought out. And it makes it a very interesting unique to me, because this comes up a lot, and I mentioned it earlier, but this comes up a lot where people are like, well, uniques can't be better than rares, right? And rares should be way more powerful than uniques. And as I said, a perfect rare exquisite blade will have a lot more damage potential than this sword. However, let's look at where you get this. You're getting this from the Shaper encounter. You're getting this from an encounter that is gated behind keys, and it's most likely not a very high drop rate for this item. So when you consider those things, it's a pretty rare item. And it's not in a spot, it's right in between those 500 DPS swords and those 800 DPS swords. It's right in between the sword that you would pay 10 chaos for and the sword that you would mirror and pay a mirror fee for. And that's a pretty wide range. And it's nice to have uniques or options in that area. It's in a good spot when you compare it to the most common rare items that are going to be, the 450 to 500 DPS weapons, and the absolute monster, mirrored items that are 850 plus physical DPS. So I just wanted to get that out there, let you guys know what I thought, and tell me what you think about this sword. I think it's really cool. I hope it has some badass 3D art, and this is the sword that if I ever got, I would probably just keep it. I would probably never even use it, but I would probably just keep it. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like this video, please like it and share it, do all that stuff. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitter at Wabachaw, I've actually been using it a lot recently, so go ahead and do that if you are a Twitter person. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you later.